Guruve Gaura Chandra Radhika Tadare Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya No Namaha Vancha Kalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Dhanyavad Pranam devotees. So this is a very short Q&A session. I always say that, and it tends to get extended, but I'm going to try to be pretty concise about this. There were a few questions. I promised a very dear God sister that I would discuss something about the meaning of dreams and how that might be related to devotees and their practice, and what's the implication of dreams for devotees. And then secondly, a question that was asked regarding why Raghunath Das Goswami is our Prayojanacharya, but our focus is on Sri Rupa Manjari, who's Rup Goswami Pad in Gaur Lila. So, and then there was one other question. I'll see if I can get to that at the end. It was about the particular nature of the two kinds of ruchi, Vastuvashiksha Apekshani and Vastuvashishta Anapekshani. So first, as far as dreams are concerned, there is a lot written in Chandogya Upanishad. And also, I think also in the Brihad Aranyakya Upanishad. So, especially in those two places that I know, there are some writings about the various states of consciousness of the jiva. So, for instance, I know Ashok Bhaktivinoda Thakur has taken from the Brihad Aranyakya Upanishad, from that 4th chapter, examples to explain what is Tatashta Swabhav in Jaiva Dharma. Because in that 4th chapter, different states of the jiva are discussed. One is called Jagrata. Jagrata means the state of being awake. And another state is called Swapna. Swapna means the dream state. And also Shushupti. Shushupti means the state of deep sleep without dream. And Avast means the state of transition between bodies, or the state of spiritual accomplishment in which there is no more transmigration. So the state of Swapna means the dream state is produced by a number of factors. One is there is a database in our consciousness, our chitta, from unlimited amounts of lifetimes within the material world. So that database is a sort of self-functioning entity that constantly produces impressions from previous activities, previous relationships, previous everything, along with adunik means current activities, relationships, impressions. So that constant engine of the database in the chitta of previous and current impressions is always operating. So in the state of swapna, in the state of sleep where there's dreams, the gross body is now become detached from the extension of the chitta. In other words, there's a saying actually in some, not only Vedic scriptures, but other scriptures, that we die daily. It means there is a time when, due to the nature of the material energy, a kind of exhaustion, so to speak, not literally speaking, but a kind of exhaustion of the attention of the consciousness of the Atma related to the body takes place. Normally that takes place on a daily basis, but you have people who may stay awake for prolonged periods of time, and you can actually see that some very, sometimes detrimental physiological effects take place from that. Because it's actually meant that there should be a break in the concentrated energy of the chitta into the material elements, which are the body. There should be a rest period. to give some rejuvenation to that, because the body is not the Atma. But the body is holding so much sway over the consciousness coming from the Atma that that temporal nature of the body and the eternal nature of the Atma starts to rub on each other, so to speak. I'm just trying to find a phrase to describe it. Therefore, when we take rest, it gives a break of the consciousness flowing directly and fully into the waking experience of that material body, called the Stula Sharir, or gross material body, right? But the Linga Sharir, or the subtle body, remains active. And those impressions which are constantly being churned by that machinery, that database, they act then through the Linga Sharir. But because the Linga Sharir has a different sensibility than the gross body, then the impressions don't take the same shape. In other words, in the gross material body, they're very constructed according to time, place, circumstance, so many different things. But in the Linga Sharir, which is not bound exclusively by the same stricture as the external body, the dreams and impressions come in a way that's not always coherent, what to speak of organized, right? And they're not always as lucid as, quote, our waking state, right? But those dreams are basically coming from impressions, both previous impressions and current impressions. I've described also before, impressions are of two types. There are material impressions and there are spiritual impressions. So if throughout the course of your day, your consciousness has so much connection with spiritual energy, then the effect of those impressions on the chitta when you're in swapna, right, means in the dream state, will have bearing. And they will influence how your dreams shape out. At the same time, if your day is dominated by material activity and material impressions and also material relationships, because whenever we relate to somebody, it's not just a physical proximity relationship. There's an exchange of energy on the subtle platform as well. What feelings they have about you, what mood they have towards you. All these kind of things are embedded in their speaking to you, especially in their feeding you, or any other kind of exchange, right? So those things also come into the picture in terms of influence. In the same way, if you're having deep association with a sadhu, then those impressions also may take form in swapna, in the dream state. You understand? So essentially, this is the composition of what our dreams are composed of. What, if any, is the implication of those dreams? So, of course, in so many cultures, dreams are both sometimes interpretive as a guide for something happening in life, and some of them are considered prophetic. In other words, they are related to some future unfoldment. So those things certainly are there. What level of investment we make in them when we're practicing bhakti is another thing. It's not that the indications and interpretations regarding dreams are absolutely insignificant. We're not saying that. We're saying that when you're practicing bhakti, because of the absorption, hopefully, in bhakti shakti, then that bhakti shakti is the all-encompassing circle of trust, love, nourishment, and everything else. This is one of the meanings in doing Saranagati of Rakshashiti Vishwas and Goptrave Varanam Tata, to accept that Krishna is protecting and nourishing and maintaining us. So other elements which come in, when I'm speaking about dreams here, as either interpretive or predictive about things, we are resting our case in Saranagati at the lotus feet of Guru and Krishna, that whatever the outcome, I'm willing to accept based on surrender. So, but let's not confuse one thing. Saranagati does not mean the absence of prudence. So, because sometimes there's that mistake could be made. So it doesn't mean I'm so dependent that Krishna is my protector and maintainer that I'll go out into inclement weather without being properly prepared. I have so much faith in Krishna that I will go swimming in a lake of alligators. Of course, I live in Florida, so it's an apropos example, right? So it doesn't mean that. We exercise prudence. That's our seva. Examples are there, both Raghunath Das Goswami doing bhajan in the burning sun, right? And Srimati Radhika giving him shade. But then Sanatan Rup saying, no, you should have a bhajan kuti built here, because prudence suggests that you should do your bhajan in such a way you do not invoke seva from Swamini, but that you're able to render service to Swamini. Of course, in the case of Raghunath Das Goswami, he was so absorbed that he did not take any notice. Therefore, the personification of Rakshashiti and Goptrave will manifest directly by Swamini Srimati Radhika for Raghunath Das Goswami. So it doesn't mean we don't exercise prudence, because in the example of Rup Sanat, they told you should build a bhajan kuti here, right? So, but at the same time, we don't divest faith from that idea of Saranagati and place it in the sort of mixture of our material and spiritual impressions and what that indicates. Now, where we have dreams which are inspired by Bhakti Shakti, association of a sadhu, our reading, our serving, and we have any dream of Thakurji, we have any dream of Parikrama, we have any dream of a Harikatha, we have any dream of the sadhu, even if no words are exchanged, right? Because the nature of a sadhu is such, there's one statement, Asambhasha Tadbhava Gambhira Chittam, right? If one wants to obtain Vrindavan, there are certain recommendations given. So Asambhasha means that there may not even be exchange of words. But if one simply sees a sadhu and their gambhir bhav, means they're deep moved, they will be affected. Example of this is in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Jaiva Dharma with Sannyasi Thakur. The first Vaishnav that he saw, he did not have any verbal exchange. But he saw Asambhasha Tadbhava Gambhira Chittam. He saw the depth of the ecstasy of that Vaishnav and was inspired to seek out sadhu sangha Vaishnavas based on that. So if we have any dream, even in which a sadhu is not speaking to us or interacting with us, we should take this as very auspicious and has been given by the inspiration of Bhakti Shakti. On the other hand, if we're having dreams and it's so many of our material impressions, we should not give so much credence, right? Because you can make, there's so many interpretations. You can go through all the Asian cultures for sure, African cultures, European cultures. You can go through any culture and you'll find a manual on dream interpretation. You understand? So it's not those sciences, so to speak, don't exist. For Vaishnavis, in the practice, our credence given to the interpretation, if we see a lion in a dream or a tiger in a dream, or we see that we're falling from a high distance, all of these have some interpretations, but we will not try to delve into how that's going to affect our life, because our life is given in Saranagati to Hari Guru Vaishnava. So whatever the interpretation is there, that's handled by the Office of Higher Administration, meaning Guru and Krishna. They will arrange whatever that was interpreted to mean, they will arrange the outcome of that. And we're putting faith in our Saranagati to Guru and Krishna. Again, if those dreams are inspirations coming from Bhakti Shakti, so they're dreams of Sadhu, Harikatha, Thakurji, etc., we'll take them as inspiration in Bhajan Sadhan and go forward. Also, we'll be careful about utilizing even dreams originating in Bhakti impressions as impositions on the process of Bhakti. For example, if I have any dream and in that dream I will see Thakurji, right? If I will go back and impose that dream as a particular accomplished level in Bhakti that it's not, right? It simply may be inspiration, right? But I interpret it as a level in Bhakti and I impose it on my practice, then it could be problematic, right? Because Sahajavad is such a thing that, like Sriman Mahaprabhu gave when he was giving Rup Siksha, how we have to protect the creeper of Bhakti. You understand? Both Sriman Siksha and Rup Siksha, how we have to protect the creeper of bhakti. You understand? And therefore we have to watch for the rise, especially of the tendency to expedite the process through self-endeavor, rather than being the witness, sakshi, of the unfoldment of bhakti by our sincere practice. Because I mentioned on many other sessions like this, we're not the karta, we're not the doers in bhakti. We are the sakshi to the power of bhakti unfolding due to the mercy of a sadhu. You understand? So if we impose something that's happened in swapna of us, means swapna state, our dream state, and we impose that as an indication of something, right? Bhajan will tell you if that's true or not. If you're sincerely doing bhajan, that will tell you. If you have any doubt, you can confirm with any sadhu guru. I had such and such a dream. And they will give any indication as to validity, status, so forth, so on. Almost universally, you'll hear that, yes, this was Thakurji's mercy, this was Guru Parapadma's mercy, and you should take inspiration to do deeper bhajan. Just like Shri Krishna himself directly appeared to Nard, when Nard tried to, by his kartatva, manifest Bhagavan, Bhagavan told, no, you'll not see me again in this life. You have to become completely pure. Of course, Nard's example here was that because he had some attachment to the mode of Sattva Gun, through his attachment to Vanvas, means living in the forest in natural, beautiful environments, and etc., etc. Bhagavan told, until completely pure, you'll not have my darshan again. But I've given darshan in order to inspire and encourage. You understand? So, hopefully this was helpful as far as understanding both what dreams are and also in what perspective we should take towards interpretation or our thought pattern from those dreams. So that's why I'm addressing that. The second question was, why is it that Raghunath Das Goswami is considered our Prayojanacharya, but our focus is Rupa Goswami and Rup Manjari? So, the three main acharyas, all our Goswami Varga are our mentorial line. So we take inspiration, instruction, everything from all our Goswami Varga and our Guru Parampara. Particularly, Rupa and Raghunath hold a special place because Sanatana Goswami Pad, who establishes our Sambandha Gyan, and all of this is related to how Mahaprabhu gave Siksha to each of them. So, the Siksha given to Sanatana Goswami establishes our Sambandha Gyan. Sanatana Goswami's question to Mahaprabhu, Kanami, Kanyamai, Jarita Putrai. Mahaprabhu's answer, Jivera Surupoye Krishna Nityadasa, Jivera Tatasta Shakti Bera Bed Prakash. So you all knowing these verses. So this is establishing our Sambandha Gyan. At Prayag, which I discussed on Sri Rupa Goswami Pad's Tirubhav, Mahaprabhu's instructions to Rupa Goswami at Prayag, at Dasashwamedha Ghat. These were the instructions on how to practice bhakti from A to Z. All inclusive. From what is Upadashamrita, Vachovegam, Manasakrodh Vegam, what is Maranakya Mahabhav, Yogesha, Bhavedesha. From A to Z, all things were given to Rupa Goswami Pad, including the power to manifest all of these things without becoming overwhelmed in such a way that they would not manifest. I spoke on the Tirubhav of Rupa Goswami Pad, that Shukdev Goswami in Srimad Bhagavatam has also revealed everything. But it requires Adhikar and Kripa to see how everything is fully manifest there. He fully glorified Radha Dasyam. Radhika's name is everywhere in Srimad Bhagavatam, but only in one verse, Anya Radhito Nunam Bhagavan Harishwara, will you find the almost direct mention of her name. This is because it is mentioned, Radha Nama Pracharnena Murchita Sanmasiko Bhavet. Because Shukdev Goswami is the Krita Shuk, it means he is the play parrot of Srimati Radhika. If he had spoken directly the name of Radhika, the Udipan of hearing Radhika's name, Udipan means stimulus, of hearing Radhika's name would have caused him to become overwhelmed in ecstatic mood. Murchit, he may have fainted for 6 months, sanmas. Therefore, he would not have given full attention to the 7 days that Maharaj Parikshit had to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. But Rupa Goswami was empowered by Mahaprabhu. with Darya, Dharan, Shakti. So Darya means patience. Dharan means to hold. Shakti means power. The power to check his own ecstatic mood in order to manifest all of the teachings from A to Z regarding bhakti. So he is our Abhideya Acharya in the form of Rup Goswami Pad. In the form of Rup Manjari, he is our ideal of Upasana. Means he is our ideal of worship. And because Sri Raghunath Das Goswami is the personification of glorification of that position of Upasana, the mode of Upasana of Rup Manjari, he is our Prayojan Acharya. Because our Prayojan is Krishna Prem, more specifically Radha Dasyam, more specifically Shri Rupa Manjari Pada, Shaimora Shampada, Shaimor Shampara, Shaimor Bhajana Pujan. So our Sampad that we're doing bhajan, doing our puja, doing all practice for, is to obtain the lotus feet of Sri Rup Manjari. You understand? So he is the ideal of Upasana, and Raghunath Das Goswami shows that. If you read Granthas like Vilap Kushamanjali, he's showing the relation between ourselves and Sri Rup Manjari. So in our theological framework, he is the Prayojan Acharya. He's teaching how to obtain the goal of service at the lotus feet of Sri Rup Manjari. Understand? So this is the reasoning behind the arrangement of Sambandha Gyanacharya, Sanatana Goswami, Abhideya Acharya, Srila Rup Goswami, and Prayojan Acharya as Raghunath Das Goswami. And by extension, our whole Goswami Varga. Because without our Goswami Varga, Jeev Goswami Pad, Gopal Bhatta, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, then so many things we would not have. Understand? So by extension, all our Goswami Varga. But these three I'm bringing up because of the nature of the question. Then the last question was about the different categories of ruchi. In bhajan, it's been described that bhajan unfolds in incremental stages. Ado Shraddha, Tata Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartana Vritti, Nishta to Ruchi. In the stage of ruchi, there are two different levels of understanding and realizing that stage of ruchi. One is called Vastu Vaishiksha Apekshani. One is called Vastu Vaishishta Anapekshani. What it means is that as the sadhaka becomes mature and Tat Tat Bhava Adi Madhyare Shuti Dirapekshate Nasasasana Yuktingscha Tar Lobat Utpatti Lakshanam. I've explained this verse on previous videos, so I'm not repeating it here. So Lobat means greed. A greed in relation to bhajan arises in the heart of the sadhaka. So the greed here and the ruchi here, the taste inspiring that greed, is in Harinam, Harikatha, Thakurji Seva, Vaishnav Seva, because it is through this bhajan, sadhan, that it has produced a transcendent taste. Previously, everyone was imbued with Jad Ras, means material taste. Now there's an appreciation that that Jad Ras has subsided, and the dominant feature, like in Bhagavad Gita, it's mentioned, Raso Vrajam Rasopiyasya Param Drisva Nivartate. So this Param Drisva has appeared in the chitta of the jiva. Now, as a carryover from our material unfoldment into this stage of ruchi, some appreciation of aesthetics remains. What I mean by that is that if you will hear any kirtan, and the kirtaniya has beautiful singing voice, and the mridanga and kartal players are completely acquainted with tal, means how to keep the rhythm very nicely in relation to the kirtan, then your appreciation of the kirtan is very nice. Sadhu, sadhu. But if you hear kirtan, mridanga player and kartal player, they don't keep good time, and the singer, his voice is some raspy or some not very fine, and that singer also may not be able to most excellently keep the rhythm, right? But if that sadhu, if that kirtaniya is fully imbued with the actual meaning of kirtan, savot bhavena kirtan, it means he has all moods related to kirtan. Even if the voice sounds like a frog, and he's unable to, or she is unable to keep time, right? But somehow their mood is coming in that kirtan. This is called Vastu Vaishishta Anapekshaniya. No consideration of the aesthetics, more consideration given to the mood inherent in that kirtan. So this is a more mature stage of ruchi or greed. So the greed to taste that kind of mood becomes more dominant than the taste of southern bhajan with aesthetics. However, it does not mean, I answered the question directly to the person who asked it earlier. It doesn't, however, mean that therefore all of our presentations will be of those who cannot sing. We'll search up, can you sing, Prabhu? How's your kirtan? Oh, I can sing, Prabhu. How about you? No, I can't sing at all. Okay, we're going to choose you in order to have more elevated bhakti. So it doesn't mean that. It means that there's not a consideration based on that. If I will hear the kirtaniya whose voice is very fine, very beautiful, and I'll hear the kirtaniya whose voice is not so fine, but I know they have deep understanding, deep mood, I will have appreciation either way. So these are two different stages of ruchi. In the second stage of ruchi, it leads to the development of ashakti. It means now the ruchi or taste will be more in bhajan related to bhajaniyam, which means the object of the bhajan or the goal of your bhajan. You understand? So if anybody will hear what I was singing earlier, Sri Rupa Manjari Pada, if they will hear it sung very sweetly, wonderful. But even if they don't hear it sung very nicely, I'm giving an example. Srila Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnu Pada Paramahansa Astottara Sriman Srila Bhakti-Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he was entering his samadhi, doing his samadhi lila, he called to have this bhajan sung. And one devotee started to sing this bhajan, one of his associates. But he told, hold, and he had one other of his associates to sing. I'm not mentioning name because I don't want any mental assignment that anything is there, because this was strictly an internal thing. All of those were high class of pure devotees. So he asked another person to sing whose voice was not this sweet. Understand? And this had nothing to do with the individuals. It had everything to do with setting the ideal that we have to be able to taste the bhav inherent in a kirtan bhajan. The mood inherent there. If the aesthetics are very wonderful, wonderful. If they're not, it doesn't matter, because that bhav is being tasted. You understand? So hopefully this was helpful for all three questions. My Dandavat Pranam, I did try to keep it short as promised. So Hari Hari Bol, Jai, Radhe Radhe. Oh, Vancha Kalpataruvishcha, Kripa Sindhu Vevacha, Patita Nam Pavnevyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha. Jai Radhe Radhe.